breaking news came out that Tyson Fury have tested negative for COVID-19, and now he's returning back to the UK, which, if anything, he's probably back in the UK as we speak. So, ladies and gents, Tyson Fury set a world record, defeating the COVID in 5 days. Tyson Fury went from testing positive to testing negative for COVID-19. That's an all-time record. Within 5 days, Fury went from having COVID to COVID-free. That's not even physically nor scientifically possible. That's right, Tyson Fury. On Tuesday, July 13th, he tested negative for COVID-19. However, he tested positive for Cap-19. Apparently, Cap-19 is in his system at all times, as it appears that Capping is in Tyson Fury blood. All jokes aside, this is nothing more than old media establishing damage control. That's all it is to it. Coincidentally, once Tyson Fury got busted being all over Vegas, in the casinos, renting cars, and drinking at bars with the fans without a mask on, even though he supposedly have the COVID and should be doing quarantine. So, due to Tyson Fury reckless behavior, that ended up exposing him for staging a lie of having COVID in order to pull out of the Deontay Wilder trilogy, which prompted old media to establish damage control once again by claiming that Tyson Fury have now tested negative for COVID in order to justify Tyson Fury being out in public with the COVID without a mask on, harming our community. But I'm afraid that old media just made the matter worse, since initially news came out that Tyson Fury tested positive for COVID on July 8th. Now news came out that Tyson Fury have tested negative for COVID on July 13th, this past Tuesday. So Tyson Fury team and old media are trying to convince the public that Tyson Fury beat COVID in less than 5 days? Well, facts say that's not even physically possible. In fact, Dr. David, the chief of the medical center at UNC Healthcare, he stated that it takes weeks to months for a person to test negative for COVID after testing positive.
From the iTeam Coronavirus Help Desk, a viewer asks, how long does it take to test negative after testing positive for COVID-19? Chief Medical Officer for Party Hospital, Dr. David Ellis, says it can take weeks to months to test negative after testing positive for COVID. He says up to 40% of people will still test positive for the virus after 3 weeks, but that doesn't mean you are contagious that entire time.
As you all heard, it takes weeks to months. However, let old media tell it. Tyson Fury tested positive, then tested negative for COVID within 5 days. See, old media has to realize you can fool some of the people some of the times, but you can't fool all of the people all of the times. Old media already lied about Tyson Fury versus AJ, completely ignoring Deontay Wilder rematch clause, and today they want to ignore the facts again, that it's not even physically possible to get the COVID then be COVID free in a time span less than 10 days. It's not physically possible. See, this ain't PEDs or steroids like Tyson Fury have been tested positive for in the past, where you can easily cleanse your body within few days. You could test negative even though you took steroids. COVID and steroids do not work the same, because once you have COVID, it's going to be in your system for a few weeks at the very least. It's not going to leave your body, and you are not going to test negative in that time stamp. But old media don't care about none of the facts. They don't even care if what they report even makes sense, as long it fits the agenda. Old media is more than willing to let the whole ship sink if it means to throw Tyson Fury off the ship. If you may wonder why, is because Tyson Fury Hope Insurance is better than Geico. You think you have full cover insurance? No, you don't. But Tyson Fury, on the other hand, his cover everything from erasing a loss on a pro record to erasing Tyson Fury history of cheating in the past and in the present. Since Tyson Fury have the complexion for the connection to get the ultimate protection. Meanwhile, Deontay Wilder have the complexion for the neglection. I mean, let Deontay Wilder tell it.
I don't have the complexion for the protection, and I love it. I love it because it gives me a more challenge in life, in this world. I got thick skin. I've been raised. I'm from Alabama, baby. I've been had thick skin and all the shit that goes on. You already know why, because you see this lovely smooth black skin, and other people have white privileges, and this white privilege in boxing is very well alive, and it's okay. You know, other people, a lot of other fighters with the same skin complexion they better get smart. They better understand, and they better realize what side they're on. You know what I mean? And everybody always want to talk about me when I don't even say nothing. You know, when there's a lot of other people that do a lot of things, like look at all the drug cheats we got in boxing. And how often do you hear about them? You know, the only time you hear about them is when it's first break, when the news first break. You may be talking, it's maybe a week, and then it's gone. He got a rap sheet of cheating. He got a rap sheet of using, abusing drugs. But you talk about a guy like me that ain't got no rap sheet or nothing, just pure power, pure work ethic, but I'm lying? And you got a guy that's known for cheating, and he's telling the truth? But like I said before, many people, especially in boxing, they did this, Ray. They did that, Ray.
Yeah.
Allowed them to do this. They saw no evil. They heard it, so they didn't speak, you know. And then when you ask about the gloves, well, how do you can't not see that gloves do not bend. Your wrist can't bend unless you double joint it or something. How the hell it bends 90-degree angle? It don't keep a fold in. It don't keep a fold in space, nor does it have loose space in it. It's impossible. It's impossible for that to happen. On top of all the other things, you know what I'm saying? But God is good.
That's what it was, and that's what it is to this day. Furthermore, just to show you guys how old media has no boundary or limit to their corruption. First, old media tried to establish damage control by contacting the car dealership and the fans who took photos with Tyson Fury without a mask on in the casinos by getting them on board to claim that them were old photos. That's what they did with Royalty Exotic Cars. But it was already too late for that because Royalty Exotic Cars already made it clear to a fan that that photo in particular was as recent as today. At least at that time when the fan DM'd Royalty Exotic Cars. Then old media and Tyson Fury team quickly realized that method of damage control is not going to work since multiple photos of Tyson Fury being all over Vegas were leaking out everywhere on social media. That's when they realized they had to pull the plug on Plan C damage control and establish Plan Z of panic control. Now they have Michael Coppinger backdating when Tyson Fury supposedly tested positive for COVID-19 in order to justify why Tyson Fury was out in public without a mask on, drinking at bars and playing in casinos. So now Michael Coppinger is reporting that Tyson Fury tested positive for Cap-19 on July 5th. However, that makes no sense whatsoever because it was Michael Coppinger himself who was the first to report on July 8th that there's a COVID outbreak in Tyson Fury camp, in which they made it clear in the report that they don't even know if Tyson Fury tested positive for COVID yet. The only thing they knew at the time was that there's a COVID outbreak in his camp. A few moments later, that's when another report came out that Tyson Fury tested positive for COVID. So they trying to convince us that ESPN, Tyson Fury Home, the biggest network in the United States when it comes to sports, They found out that Tyson Fury tested positive for COVID 3 days later. Remember, this is an event that involves ESPN. This will be hosted on ESPN. It's a joint promotion between ESPN and Fox Sport. And they trying to convince us ESPN received the news 3 days later. Why? If Tyson Fury tested positive for COVID, ESPN will find out immediately at that moment in time. So if Michael Coppinger is going to make up a lie, at least try to make sense. Make sense out of it. Don't make a fool out of yourself telling a lie. But what's so sad for old media, even if we believe what Michael Coppinger just reported, that Tyson Fury tested positive on July 5th, that still doesn't justify Tyson Fury testing negative for COVID-19 by July 13th, since that's only a week time span, 8 days to be exact. However, it takes a minimum of 2 weeks to beat COVID at the fastest rate. And by law, you have to at least quarantine for 10 days. By law. However, Tyson Fury was out and about by July 13th without a mask on in casinos and drinking at bars. So even by Michael Coppinger's own report, Tyson Fury is not supposed to be out in the public until after July 15th, after testing negative. So if Tyson Fury got tested on July 13th, it takes days to receive the results. So why was Tyson Fury out and about on July 13th if he got tested on July 13th? It ain't like Tyson Fury is going to receive the results automatically. That's not how it works. So old media could thank Tyson Fury for making them tap out, fighting for a liar and a cheater in Tyson Fury. Either way you put it, nothing from Tyson Fury team or old media makes any sense. The moral of this news is that once you tell a lie, you have to continue to lie in order to cover up the previous lies, where eventually your own lies are gonna end up catching up with you, which is exactly to a T what happened to Tyson Fury. Therefore, we want proof that Tyson Fury tested positive for Cap-19 from the CDC, with the facts being laid out. The $1 million question is not why Tyson Fury pulled Cap-19. That's abundantly clear that Tyson Fury does not have the cojones to fight Deontay Wilder without cheating on an even playing field, as Tyson Fury have been running for almost 2 years now from the Deontay Wilder Trilogy. However, the question is, did Tyson Fury buy more time in order to explore more ways he could cheat? We see he's back in the UK. But is he back on the wild boar? We know he's out of shape. And the quickest way to get in shape is by taking steroids. We all know you don't get in shape by drinking at the bar while you have COVID, supposedly. So hopefully Deontay Wilder have the VADA testing from today till the day of the fight, October 9th. Since it's highly suspicious why the fight was pushed so far back, 3 months from now, even though Tyson Fury was only sick for 5 days. Therefore, why was the fight pushed back for 3 months? With the facts being laid out, why do you guys think the cheater of the century, the greatest cheater of all time in Tyson Fury, pulled this stunt? Cap-19, Coward 19, whatever you want to call it. Drop your thoughts in the comment section below. Subscribe below and click on the notification bell to be continued on the next episode of Akhi, Akhi TV. Peace, and I'm on to the next one.
What goes through the mind now in the last couple of weeks, through your mind and your body?
Nothing really. I don't really think about the fight until it's on us. My most important thing is to get to the fight injury free, not to get some stupid cut in sparring or injury at the last minute or catch COVID even. or whatever there is, the dangers out there, or catch COVID even.
On June 15th, Bob Arum put out a statement. Him and I had met at the press conference. I told him Deontay's team and Deontay had 2 vaccinations already. And he said, oh, so did our camp.
Fury is totally vaccinated. And I talked with Shelley Finkel a little while ago, and he said that Wilder's been fully vaccinated, and their corners have been vaccinated. That's taking responsibility. But now with the vaccination, anybody gets COVID, shame on them. Shame on them.